BiffBiff.com world premiere.
Effortless, call us aggressive intelligence. Hustle my artist and I'm the executive vice of Spine, Connecticut. Come from the block with an etiquette. It's never lied in fellowship.
Hi everyone, welcome to Walking the Walk of Life with Luigi. So this is my first official episode, and on the first episode we'll be talking about self-love. What you guys would call it. Self-love. Do you love yourself? Do you tender yourself? As you live for yourself? Yeah. Do you love yourself? Do you really love yourself? How do you know if you do love yourself? You know, I can ask someone like, do you love yourself? They'll definitely be like, yeah, but what really goes on internally is the bigger picture. I mean, if someone could ask me like, do I love myself? The most natural thing to say is, I do love myself. But do you, who is watching, love yourself? Do you? Do you? Do you? I mean, a lot of people watch shows. Uyangithanda now. Uyazithanda yini wena? Uyazithanda wena? Like, but anyways, enough of me asking. Uyazithanda. Uyazithanda means do you love yourself, for those that don't understand vernac. So yeah, well, I decided to talk about self-love mainly today because I know a lot of people have issues. Obviously they won't vocalize them, but you can see them through their actions. Like the way a person carries themselves says a lot about, you know, what's going on internally. So I've actually met a lot of people along the walks of life that have a lot of confidence, and then ones that have moderate confidence, and then others that don't have like too much confidence. And that's all driven on how you have a conversation with yourself in your mind. So for example, if you know people that are very confident, I think there are different kinds of people that receive that kind of energy that you give off. So there are people that will be, should I say, intimidated by your confidence, because, you know, it seems like your confidence is more than theirs, and then you'll get people like, hello, we are Strela. Yeah. So like, I think that has a lot to do with their confidence. I mean, if you're gonna be feeling off about someone else's confidence, it says a lot about you, you know? Because if you empty inside and don't really feel yourself like that, why should someone else's confidence eat yours? I mean, and then there are people that will not be afraid of your confidence, but like instead they admire it. You know, there's people that say, I love someone that's confident. Then you get people that will just not receive you. And I mean, that's all up to how you feel about yourself. So like, my question is, how well do you also know yourself? Like, because you have to really know yourself and understand yourself in order to love yourself. So like, that's a very big factor. Like, and then, well, there's a lot of things that you can do to improve your self-love, self-love, whatever you want to put. So I think I've got numerous points that one can use to actually better their, I don't know how to put it, like to better their self-love or self-love, because that's a journey that happens systematically. So like, it doesn't just happen overnight, because you really have to sit down and self-introspect. Like, how often do you self-introspect? Like, people don't really sit down, people don't really sit down and actually have honest conversations with themselves. Like, a lot of people lie to themselves. Like, that actually sort of sounds, should I say, a bit off for me to say, because like, it sounds weird if you say, a lot of people lie to themselves. I mean, like, how would you know if someone actually lies to themselves? Because you can't really get into their heads. Okay, so with two is be honest with yourself. Like, it's very essential to have an honest conversation with yourself, because that will set the tone going forward for everything else. So being honest with yourself is the most important part, because if you aren't honest with yourself, like, you're not going to be honest with anyone else. So like, that's the most important one. And then take time for yourself. Learn to set aside time to be with yourself, so you can self-introspect, and ask yourself questions where you can answer yourself and, get the correct answers. But it may take time, obviously. And then explore yourself. Like the previous point and this one that I just mentioned, which is exploring yourself, is pretty much the same, but they work hand in hand. Exploring yourself has a lot to do with going deeper into yourself. Like, I don't think people know themselves with great depth. That's why they go around looking for, what can I say, looking for people to define them. If you can't define yourself, like, how do you expect people to actually define you? And if you can define yourself, even if someone else tries to define you, like, it won't really matter to you, because you already know who you are as a person. So yeah. And then pay attention to the words you say. Like, how you speak to yourself is very important. Like, if you speak to yourself negatively, like in your mind, everything you're gonna do is gonna come out just like that. If you tell yourself, I can't do this, like, your mind has already registered that, and you probably most definitely going to struggle like doing that, because you've already told yourself in advance, I won't be able to do it. For example, let's say, let me use a more real life example. Let's say, like with me, I'm gymming with my friends, we've been benching a certain amount of weight at the gym. So like, let's say I've been loading 80 kgs, 100 kgs. So let's say I've been doing 100 kgs for like 4 months. In order to grow, I'll need to like increase the weight and try new weight in order for me to get stronger. I mean, if I don't try it, then I'm never gonna know if I've actually gotten stronger within that period of time. So like, it's very important to actually, tell myself like, you can do that, because no one else will ever do it for you, so yeah. And then always trust yourself. Trusting yourself is very important. I mean, if you don't trust yourself, who else can trust you? I mean, the greatest amount of trust that you can ever get is from yourself. If you don't back yourself in anything that you do, then I don't know how you're going to conquer your fears and the things that you'd like to achieve. And then, so trusting yourself is very essential. And then being assertive. Like, being assertive is one of the most important ones. I mean, if you've got standards, boundaries, things you dislike, you're gonna have to tell people, I dislike this, I dislike that. And never ever feel bad for telling people you don't appreciate that. Because if you let people do what you don't approve, they're going to keep doing that, and that's going to bother you. And you definitely don't want to be in a space like that. Like, it's very important to protect your peace at all times. Like, that is your duty. And then 8, express yourself. Like, always let people know like how you feel about something, whether it's an argument or an opinion and things like that. Like, you should just always let people know like what's going on in your mind, so they know what to expect from you, you know, because people should always know how you feel, you know. So yeah, that has to be number 8. And then understand who you are. Like, we all come from different walks of life, and we don't have the same frame of reference. So what my mate might see as, you know, that I see as something else. So like, it's very important for you to like have a clear picture of like what's what. And then do what is best for you, because remember, you have your own individual list of desires, goals, wants that you have within you. So like, do what makes you happy, but just always make sure that it propels you forward as an individual and as an entity, like not as a group but as a person. Because like, if you're doing what sets your soul on fire, like, you'll love yourself a lot because you're actually doing what you fully desire. But always just make sure it's something that will propel you forward. Yeah, that has to be the list of tips that one can follow to actually better their self-love journey. Or let me not even say journey, but yeah, the journey is different. So yeah, but I'll be also uploading a video, probably even a slideshow where there's more points and more emphasis to the tips that I have given, or I'll give like a wider range of tips that one could use. So now I will be giving steps, or the top sequence of self-love tips that you could probably or most definitely use to better the way you love yourself, because that's very important. Remember, the relationship you have with yourself and how you feel about yourself sets the tone in all your other relationships. If you aren't too confident with yourself or love yourself, you are automatically going to be a wrecking ball pretty much in everything that you associate yourself with. Touch, and you know, if you're not real with yourself, like, you're most definitely not going to have fruitful relationships with other people, and you'll never learn how to actually sit back and ask yourself, was I wrong? You know, because that's very important. Like, you don't go through life always correct. You need to sit down and ask yourself, like, was I correct with what I did? You know, so let me give you the 10 tips that you could use. So I actually wrote them down, so I'm going to read them out. I've got a little diary, and then I explain them with a great amount of emphasis that I can bring forward to you. So here they are. Well, this is my little diary where I actually jot down stuff. Yes, I'm a guy, I've got a diary. I write down things. Okay. The first one is give yourself love. you know? Like the idea of being loved by someone is such a beautiful feeling, you know? But giving yourself love is the most important one, okay? And then number 2, be honest with yourself. Like, are you true to who you are? Like, a lot of people try to be like someone. I mean, it should be draining trying to be someone else when you have your own unique self to live out. And then take time for yourself. Like, give time to yourself to be alone so you can think, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people don't actually give themselves time, you know, to actually sit back, think about who they are, what they want, what their purpose is, and, you know, a lot of people actually just spend time. So, since I've actually listed those tips that one can use to better their self-love journey, you know, so like, please try and use those tips to actually better your self-love. And yeah, it may be a process, but it's really worth it. Like, loving yourself is so beautiful. I actually also had to work through that, especially even during lockdown. I actually got to spend a lot of time with myself to self-introspect and, you know, check what's really up with me. And I hope you guys also used your time to actually self-introspect, because from my point of view, I don't ever think we'll get this much time to ourselves ever again. Like, think about it. Have you ever stayed at home for this long? Like, I literally felt like it was the apocalypse. Like, what? But I actually got to learn a lot about myself. So yeah. And then what else should I even say? Like, confidence is essential. I mean, let's say I'm just chilling with the boys and maybe they have brought over other friends which will be acquaintances to me, and let's say I stand up and I, you know, confidently announce, yo, I'm a top dog, ni inja. You know, there's certain guys that will just be like, this nigga's really like freaking feeling himself, eh? Like, that will be their problem. I mean, if I'm saying I'm a top dog, I believe that I'm a pit bull. If you feel like a chihuahua, that's your own one, Skolwane. I'm just joking, not a Skolwane, but like maybe a young chihuahua or something, but you decide whether you're the big dog or what. So yeah, it's a journey, work on it. If your confidence is on 100, your self-love is on 100, a lot of things in your life will flourish, and no one will be able to step on your toes. And I feel like people will be able to respect you more if you love yourself, because if a person carries themselves with great precision, like, automatically people respect you. But if you carry yourself like a slouch, you know, like a slouch, that's how people will move around you, because they know that, oh my goodness, this person doesn't seem to love themselves. And people tend to take advantage of people who don't love themselves. Did you know that there are people that hope you don't value yourself or love yourself so they can use you? Like, that's why it's very important for you to love yourself and be woke at all times. But yeah, like I said, it's a process. But yeah, so like the next episode will be coming soon, and it will be a continuation of self-love. So stay tuned, and thank you for tuning into Walking the Walk of Life with Luigi. Boom. Stay
Big in
tuned.
the streets, I'm an elephant. Blow the brake, push the pedal it. I jumped in the game, got my letter in. Jumped in the game, I'm a shoot too. We don't never really lose. Do it for Uzi and do. You in the left,